Okay, this is the third video. It's very much like the second video. The information is not given in a graph. This time the information is given in a chart. And so we have the product of G and F, and we're trying to take the derivative of it. So we use the product rule where we take the derivative of G and we leave F alone, put a plus sign, leave G alone, and take the derivative of F. And so we want to evaluate this at t equals 2. So this is going to be, this function is called h of t. Now we have h prime of t, and what we're looking at is h prime of 2. So we have g prime of 2 times f of 2 plus g of 2 times f prime of 2. So in this chart, we have t being equal to 2. F of 2 is 10. That's how you read that. G of 2 is 8. But each of those get multiplied by the derivative. And so the second or the third row here is about the derivative. F prime at 2 is -1. G prime at 2 is 3. So you take the 3 times the 10 to get the 30. The -1 times 8 to get the -8, and the answer would be 22. Okay, so same chart, but now product quotient rule. And so if h is equal to f over g, then we want to find h prime of x. So we take g of x and square it. We take g of x and write it up top and multiply it by f prime of x, put a minus sign, leave f of x alone, and multiply it by g prime of x. And we're interested in x equal 8. So h prime of 8 is going to be g of 8, f prime of 8, minus f of 8, g prime of 8, and the whole thing is divided by g of 8, who will be squared. And so when t is 8, we have g of 8 is 6. G prime of 8 is -5. So we can put those in. F of 8 is 12. F prime of 8 is -4. So we plug in a 6 times a -4 minus a 12 times a -5, and that's all divided by the 6, who is squared. Get a -24, and we add on 60 and divide by 36. So that actually ends up as 36 over 36. Wow. Equals to 1. Next up, we have the composite function, f inside of g. So we're going to do the chain rule, where we do the derivative of the outside evaluated at the inside times the derivative of the inside, if that's called h. So we want h prime at 10, so we take g prime of f of 10 and multiply by f prime of 10. So f of 10 is an 8. That 8 then goes inside of g. G prime, sorry. And what comes out is a -5. So that part is a -5, while the derivative of f at 10 is a -2. So when we multiply these together, we get a 10, and that's our answer. Next up, we take a function and square it. If your function is another function squared, when it's time to take the derivative, you bring down the power, you take the function to the first or one less power, and then you multiply by the derivative of the inside function. It's the chain rule, but it's like a power combined with chain rule. Bring the exponent down, leave the inside alone, take it to one less power, and multiply by the derivative of the inside. We want this at 4, so we take 2 times g of 4, and we multiply it by g prime of 4. So go to 4, g of 4 is 10, 2 times 10, g prime of 4 is 2, times by 2, and what we get out of that is 40. And then the last one of these is f circle g, open circle g, but that's better read as the same thing we had before, but in different order. This is f of g of x. The derivative of that is f prime of g of x times g prime of x. If you want this at 6, then what you do is you take f prime of g of 6 and you multiply that by g prime of 6. So if we go to 6, g of 6 is a 12. So we have f prime of 12 times g prime of 6. G prime of 6 is a -3. F prime of 12 is a 3. These are multiplied together. Our result is a -9. Okay, so using charts, a little easier than using the graph, but pretty straightforward there. Okay, I'll end this video and then start a new one.